Hi gamers, I wanted to make a complete overview of the ecosystem, how it works, what even are echoes, and I just wanted a video that explained everything that we currently know about echoes and how they function inside of Wuthering Waves. So without further ado, let me explain what an echo is. An echo is an enemy that you absorbed after you killed them, and there is a chance, a certain probability of that enemy, once you defeat them, to be turned into an echo for you to absorb it. And how do we see this probability? How do we increase this probability? So before we get into, what echoes do, let's see how we capture them. So if we go over to Databank, we can see that I'm currently level 11, but if we go all the way down here, you can see some of these numbers are changing. So this is our echo drop rate. Whenever you defeat an enemy, you will have a 10% chance at level 0. Well, let's go to level 1. You have a 10% chance at level 1 for an enemy to drop as an echo. There are certain enemies in the world that are guaranteed to drop an echo. You can tell those differently because they have just a glowing body about them. But the base chance of just defeating a normal enemy is 10%. Now, for the enhanced absorption probability, this is the enhanced probability of turning an enemy into an echo that is a strong enemy. And by strong, I can't tell whether or not this is referring to specifically only bosses or if this is referring to only the mini bosses. And by mini bosses, when you are exploring the world, you will find some enemies that are glowing red and yellow. And once you actually defeat them, anytime that I've defeated them at least, they drop an echo. And they also have a giant boss health bar above them too, so that's why I'm calling them a mini boss. And this is going to be the probability of them dropping an echo, which you can see is a lot higher because once you actually kill them, I believe it is guaranteed for it to be a 5-star. Now, we can't tell for certain because the game is still in closed beta and it hasn't been out for a very long time, but any time that I've actually killed one, it has always been a 5-star echo that drops. Now, if we go down here, we can see the max absorbable rarity, and that being 2. That is just your commons, your lowest ranking echo is a rank 2. Think of the relic system whenever I'm referring to this. So you have the just bare minimum whites, and then it goes up from there all the way up to 5-star relics, which everyone wants. And now you also have a cost limit, which we will get into later. So if we go from level 1, we go all the way down to level 20, you can see the drop rate stays the same at 20%, or well, it goes up to 10% to 20%. The enhanced absorption probability is 100%. So anytime that you kill one of these strong enemies, it is guaranteed for it to drop 100% of the time, that echo. The max absorbable rarity is rank 5, which is the 5-star relic, and your cost also goes up to 12. Now, a thing to note about this enhanced absorption probability, if we click on this little icon right here, we go down a little bit, we can see that this enhanced absorption probability only happens 5 times. And then it also resets every Monday. So if you're farming all of these strong enemies, you're trying to farm bosses to get their probability, trying to get their echoes dropped and have a specific echo from them dropped, you can only farm it a certain number of times before this 100% probability just goes kaplooey and you're back at 20%. You're back at the very bottom. So that is just something to keep in mind, that every Monday it'll update and you'll get this 100%, every 5 strong echoes that you fight, or enemies that you fight. I keep mixing the two up. Now, how do we level this up? How do we level the databank up? And it's pretty simple. You just play the game, you defeat more enemies, you capture their version of rarity. So if you're at level 1 over here and you defeat an enemy, you capture a bunch of different green level 1 enemies. Then once you do that, your rank will go up and it'll go up, and then you'll unlock rank 3. So once you capture the exact same echo, it'll have a chance of dropping as a rank 3 rarity. Meaning if you capture Rank 2 of the exact same enemy multiple times, it's going to stay the same. You have to branch out and attack other types of enemies, different enemy types, and be able to capture their echoes. But once you get to rank 3, then you can capture the same enemy type and it'll start going towards your databank once again. So just playing the game and defeating enemies and capturing echoes is how you increase this, which will increase your drop rate to 20%, your enhanced absorption probability, your max absorption rarity possible, and also your cost limit. So now let's talk about this cost limit. If we go over to the echo section in our character, you'll see that the echoes are separated into 2 areas. One is the foregroup and one is the main group with a cost above them. Now, if we click on just the main one, you will see that this has a little number 4 underneath it. At the bottom right, it also has a little indicator of the relic type that it is, and I'm just going to be calling this a relic type just because that's easy for me to understand, and if you play Genshin, you'd understand why as well. So this main unit is going to be the unit that you are going to be able to switch to in combat. So this is the unit where you'll be able to press the button, you'll either throw them out or you'll change to them, you'll do a little attack, and then you'll change back to your main unit. They each have their own section here that has the 2 main buffs that gets leveled up with each level, and then you have your little secondary buffs down here. That's your substats. If we scroll down here, you can see this is the echo ability, which is the ability that if this is your main echo, this is the ability you will get. So if we go down here, you can see it's not active because that's not our main echo. This is our main echo, so it's active right now. Then we get down to Sonata Effect. This is going to be the effect that is applied to this character whenever you have the exact same effect on each of them. So this one has Molten Rift, which if you can see, I have 5 out of 5, meaning all of my echoes all have Molten Rift on them as a passive. And since I have all 5, it's saying that fusion damage increase, which is just fire damage. And also, after using resonant skill, fusion damage is increased as well. So it is important, just like Genshin Impact, for you to have the exact same relic set all across. Or if some relic sets are a little different, then you can, do the 2-2 kind of formula. It's the same sort of concept. Another thing is if you click this button right here, it'll bring up the enemy types that all have a possibility of dropping that relic set. So if you go here, you can see these enemies, some overlap. For example, purple guy, white guy, purple guy, white guy. They have a distinct chance of these 2 enemies dropping either Thunder or Molten Rift. It's random dependent on just luck. So you can farm out a bunch of these enemies and you could never get the Molten Rift set to drop. You could end up just always getting the Thunder Rift set dropped. And that's why it's important to just make sure that you are farming enemies that have it possible. Another thing for you to note, see how it says 5 out of 5? Well, if I were to go down here and I were to replace, let's just say this wolf, with this wolf instead, it still has the fire effect here. If I were to replace it, you can notice that my thing here, my number went down to 4 out of 5. That is specifically because I cannot have 2 of the exact same echo on my character or they'd cancel each other out. So since I have 2 of these wolves, they're only counting once towards the Molten Rift set. It's not counting twice like it's supposed to, it's only counting once. So when I switch this back to a different animal or a different echo that has it, it goes back to 5. So just make sure that you're farming a wide variety of enemies and not just one specific enemy, or this is going to end up happening to you. Another thing to take into account, whenever you are leveling up your echoes, yes, you may be able to farm echoes infinitely, but you may not level them up infinitely. And what do I mean by that? If I were to level up this boar, hopefully I have the materials available, I can get him to 10, okay? Let me just go down to 5. Just go down to 5. I don't want to level this up, guys. So as you can see, if I want to level up this boar, I'll have to use this certain material, which I have to use my resin to farm or do quests and all that jazz. But mostly you'll have to use your resin to farm this up. After I do that, you can see this is highlighted and my attack and HP is getting increased. So I'm going to level it up, and then I unlocked the constant attribute slot. So this slot is going to be the random substat slot. All right, so even though I can guarantee to level these two up, when I go down here, I have to use one of this specific material in order to unlock each of these slots. And each of these slots, as you can see, gets unlocked each 5 levels. So this one got unlocked at level 5, this one 10, 15, 20. So each time that I get up 5 levels, I'll have to use one of these to see what my substat is. So when I use this, you can see I unlock the basic attack damage bonus. That means that I can farm as many of these enemies out that I want, get as many of these echoes out that I want, but at a specific point, I won't be able to level them up anymore. I'll just be sitting on them, not knowing whether or not they are good, just because I can't see what substats they are until I do level them up. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yes, you can farm relics infinitely, but it's not an infinite level sort of deal. You're gonna have to wait a bit once you actually unlock all the relics you want. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is the point of this cost system? Why would I put on this wolf that is a level 3 other than just putting on this wolf that is a level 1? And currently, I don't understand why not either. There is no conceivable world where I wouldn't put on a 1 other than a 3. I am assuming that sometimes these wolves might drop it, and it just gives you a little bit more flexibility whether or not you have a bunch of enemies that have a high cost dropping a specific relic type. For example, this is the Molten Rift. Maybe it's more likely for the stronger enemies that have a higher cost to drop it, so it's easier for you to farm it out instead of having the lower enemies drop it. But right now, it's not very sure, it's not very clear why you even need to run a higher cost unit other than in your main slot, because it might do a specific ability that you want to combo off of. And that is something that we will learn in due time. If anyone does know, please let us, not just me, but everyone know in the comments below, just so that we have a better understanding of how this system works and why there even is a cost system in here to begin with. Now, I just thought of this might be a slight tangent, but going back to the cost system, they might use this cost system as a way to filter out broken builds. For example, if they want a specific build to cost a certain amount, then that cost is exactly that. You have to do this specific cost in order to get this build, so that you can't have a 2 set on them and then a 2 set of a different thing that is stronger, where the cost set will end up going too high because the only units for a specific set is all 3 cost. It's a way for them to filter it out, in my opinion. That is a possibility, but it's still unclear. Another cool thing to note, if you do have access to the closed beta, then if you go to your data bank, and we were on this page before, but if you go to one of these slots, it'll show you what tier echo you've unlocked for each enemy. And if we go down, you can see that for me, Tic Tac, I've unlocked rank 2, 3, 4, but I haven't unlocked rank 5 for them. And you can see for this 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've also unlocked rank 5. It also shows you, normally the details tab is closed, but if you open it, it'll show you what kind of Sonata effects it might drop with. So you can see, okay, this one has these, maybe I should farm those, and I can click on track, and it'll track them for me. It'll give me a detection range, and it'll help me be able to find them so that I can farm them a bit better, all right? So that is everything we currently know about the relic system. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps a ton. Thank you guys for coming and watching. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Johnny. I stream every day. Johnny.